How's it going, YouTube? I hope everybody's having a great day. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. As you guys can tell, we have got a video that I've been talking about for a while now. This is the review for my 2020 Volkswagen Golf GTI. I've been talking about this for about a month now. I've just waited for the right time, the right day, and a person to film with. This is Sam. He's going to be giving me a second opinion on the car. He's also going to be driving it. Today we are out on a road called Monte Cristo. It's a beautiful road. We are just stopped at one of the many viewpoints that are up here. Super nice road, lots of corners. It'll give us a good idea of how the car drives. I have owned this car. I bought it brand new. I bought it September of 2020. Since then, I have put about 8,500 miles on it. So I think that right now I can actually give a pretty good opinion on what the car is like to own, to live with, and all that stuff. So let's start with the color of the vehicle. As you guys might be able to tell, I'm not sure if you can, it's not white. It's actually a white silver is what Volkswagen calls it. It's actually one of my favorite colors of any car besides like Nardo gray. It's super cool. Next to a white car, this thing looks gray. Next to a gray car, it looks white. On like cloudy days, it almost has like a little bit of blue purple in it. Under street lights at night, it looks purple. It's actually a super cool paint. I love it. It's got to be like my favorite thing about the car. This does have the SE package. It is the second highest package, just right behind the Autobahn. I'm not sure on every single difference, but I will talk about what this is equipped with. We'll start with these super cool headlights. They've got the pinstripe that comes from the grille, and it follows onto both the low and the high beams, or low and the high, whichever one it is. It's got these DRLs that glow when you're driving and it's not dark outside. They are also adaptive, so they adapt to the road. So if you're turning left, they'll also turn left, show you the road ahead of you. They have also got, I don't even know where to find it. Oh, right here, if you guys can see that little light in there, when you are turning, say, into like a driveway or something like that, a light will actually shoot out of the side. You don't really notice this the feature until you get into a car that doesn't have it. After driving this for a while, it's almost like you can't see anything at night. It's hilarious. We've also got the fog lights down there. They look really good. As you guys can also tell, this car has a sunroof. What I really like about the sunroof actually is that, unlike a lot of cars, instead of like being like almost just like a square cut out, they actually, this isn't glass, but they made it black to almost make it blend in a lot better. I've thought about actually wrapping the rest of the roof black just to kind of continue it, but it would suck for heat, so we're just not doing that. Besides that, I don't really think that there's anything exterior that this car has that's different from any of the other GTI models. So let's talk about some of the modifications that this car has. As you guys can see, the exhaust is aftermarket. These tips are bigger. It's got a muffler delete and a resonator delete as well. We didn't go with like an aftermarket catback just because I didn't want to spend the money for it. This was a lot cheaper. And to be honest, these cars, they all pretty much sound the same. They don't sound very great. These motors don't sound amazing. So that's it for the exhaust. Let's go over to the front of the car. Pretty stock under here. As you guys can tell, we do have the ECS inlet hose. Still the stock turbo elbow down here. Here's your turbo. We've also got a AFE dry filter in there, as well as a snow guard delete. It adds a little bit of intake noise, mostly just air. Back when I bought this car, the car had about, I want to say like 400 miles on it. I did buy like a full aftermarket integrated engineering intake. I ended up taking that off. Unfortunately, it was just way too loud. It was super annoying in the morning, you know, when you're just trying to drive and it's just going off like crazy. So we took that out. I actually also noticed a bit of a power loss as well as some fluttering from the turbo. So that was kind of concerning to me. So I took that off. I had it on for about 500 miles, took it off and sold it. And we just went with this. But besides that, that is the only power modifications that are done to the car. Next, as you guys can see, we have got the windows tinted. We've got 20% all around and 50% on the front. And I'll tell you that 50% on the front is fantastic. It's really good for the like hot sunny days. You don't really have to put like one of those like shields on the car. It's actually really good at night as well. You don't get like super bright lights in your face, so it helps a ton. And then, you know, people can't really see you through there. I've had people say that they can just like barely see my hands and that's it. But yeah, so that is going to be it for the exterior. Let's move on to the inside. All right, so moving on to the interior, I'm actually going to get back here and film from this angle. Oh my heck, it is dirty. So as you guys can tell, we've got a lot of gloss black, which is actually kind of annoying. It gets super dusty and it's really frustrating to clean. And you guys can see kind of my fingerprints. I try not to touch my screen as much as I can just to avoid those. As you guys can tell, we went with the 6-speed manual instead of the DSG. I actually enjoyed driving it more. I didn't really enjoy the DSG in this car. I don't like automatic transmissions. They frustrate me more than I enjoy them. Look at Sam, huh, buddy? That smile, eh? The steering wheel I actually really like. I love the flat bottom. It feels super sporty. It feels really good. I think they might have done something different on these MK7.5 GTIs. I know they're the Mark 7s, like the 20, I think it's like 2015 to 2017. The steering wheel is almost shiny. I don't know if that comes with driving or what, but in 9,000 miles, mine looks just fine. I like the matte finish. We've got the leather seats that come with the SE package. I like these a heck of a lot more than I like the plaid seats. I know the classic GTI, you know, plaid seats. This just looks 100 times better to me. They're really comfortable. You know, obviously they've got their pluses and minuses to leather. It's super hot right now. I'm actually burning up just sitting in the back seat too, which is actually what I'm going to move on to right now. So me sitting behind myself, I have got barely any room, and my head, if I was just sitting straight up, is hitting the roof, which is super uncomfortable. That sucks. But I mean, I guess I could do this for like 20 miles, nothing more than that. Let's move on to the trunk, which is actually one of the downsides to this car. So really cool way to open the trunk. You actually push this in and lift up. That's actually where the backup camera is as well. Here is trunk, super, you know, just like any hatchback. Hilarious thing about this car though is that it's a Golf, right? Golf GTI. I cannot fit a set of golf clubs in here without putting the seat down. And if I do, I have to take my driver out and I have to lay the clubs down and then put the driver in, and it barely fits, which is crazy to me. It's a Golf, right? But what are you gonna do? And honestly, there's not a ton of stuff that like you can really fit in here without having to put the seats down. And that gets a little difficult because if you have 4 passengers and you need to put something in the back, you can't. But what are you gonna do? It's got this little cover on it. It just keeps your belongings shaded, hidden. Yeah, super nice there. So that is going to be it for the exterior and interior review. We're gonna sit down, I'm gonna have Sam film me, and we're gonna go up this road a little bit, and then we're gonna turn around and Sam's gonna drive down, and we'll get both of our opinions, and yeah, we'll go from there. So we'll see you in a sec. So continuing on the interior a little bit, now that the car is started, here's the gauges. What I really do like about this is that there is a ton of presets. This is just one of the kind of files that you can go through. You've got assist systems, you've got compass, audio, telephone, and vehicle status. You got lap timers and driving data. That's what I usually keep it in, and I just do my miles an hour. For some reason, I don't enjoy looking at the speedometer. It's kind of clustered for me, and it's just easier for me to look down there. You know, when I'm doing 200 miles an hour on a racetrack, that's what I go for. But turn signals here, headlights. I had them on actually. Headlights there. Let's see. Here is the center screen. This is what I usually keep it on. It's actually a really good display. It's got Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. I don't usually use it just because I love looking at this. So we've got performance gauges is what Volkswagen calls them. So I have my oil temperature, my boost pressure, that is ambient, or vacuum I should say, and then my G meter. You can actually change it. I'll show you here in a second. But what's really cool about this is it's got a sensor, and it'll sense your hand. So I don't have to touch it. and it senses my hand and it gets ready for me to use it. So we'll swipe through the presets. We've got oil, let's see, that's kilowatt power, that's coolant temperature, G's, and PSI again, and they all do that same thing. It's also got in this setting, we've got, so those are the sport gauges, we got energy consumers, we've got driving data, let's see, I think blue trainer, and vehicle status. I just keep it on here. I don't even use Apple CarPlay or anything like that. Like I said, this is just awesome. Huge pet peeve though, and I don't know if this is just like a German thing or what, but how this freaking moves is so frustrating. I hate it. Also super cool when you decide to turn it off, it's got a couple of different options when it comes to clocks, so super neat. But we'll just keep it on. Let's see. Okay, down here we've got our AC controls. That's super cool, super basic, really easy to use, and the AC in this car is actually fantastic. A lot better than my old F-150. It wasn't even old, it was a 2018, but this is a hell of a lot better than that. And here we've got a cubby. The engine start button is down here. We've also got modes here. The reason that this is empty is because on the DSG vehicles it does have start stop. So that's why that's empty. We've got traction control, and then we've got modes here. So currently in sport mode, we've got a custom mode, we've got eco and normal. We'll just leave it in sport just for being in the canyons. It gives you a little bit of tighter steering. It changes the throttle mapping a little bit as well. So super nice. It's actually a really nice mode to drive in. And you can really actually tell when it's in sport mode. There'll be times where I'm driving on the freeway and I can kind of feel the car driving a little bit rough. And it's literally just because I left it in sport mode, and it's rough when you hit the throttle and it's rough when you let off. But yeah, I think even though it does feel like that, it's really good that it actually does change the car. I know a lot of sport modes don't really do much, so that's super cool. But let's get the camera set up and let's get driving. All right, so we are setting off. Sam is my GoPro mount, super cool. We're setting off. We're gonna start going up this hill a little bit. And I'll have the camera on me here for a second, and then we'll just kind of talk about the power, and then we'll flip the camera and we'll kind of give you guys like a view. If there's one thing that I notice about this car is, and everybody notices it, is how long the gears are. It is ridiculous. And I understand why they do it. It's for, you know, obviously economy and stuff like that. And it makes the car, you know, easier to drive, but it does affect, you know, the power delivery. You don't really shift too often, and it's kind of hard to get into the meat of the power band. Another bad thing is with these longer gears, the clutch in this car is pretty weak, and so they don't really handle much more than stock power, which is a big reason as to why the car isn't tuned, because I don't want to put the money into a clutch as well. But having these longer gears, you can't really floor the car below like 4,000 RPMs without putting extra stress on the clutch and wearing it out faster. And it takes a while to get up to that speed. Like second gear tops out at about 73, 75 miles an hour. And it's frustrating because at that speed you're already going faster than, you know, most speed limits, right? And you don't really get the fun of shifting. Another thing I do want to mention while we're driving is this exhaust. So I kind of mentioned it's not really droney at all. You can definitely hear that it's there when you get on it. Another, probably my favorite part about it is that it sounds deep and growly, and then past a certain RPM, or once you get into the turbo, it almost starts to like sound like it rips. Like it's super weird, but the tone completely changes and it gets super aggressive. Sadly, the downside of not having a DSG is you don't get the DSG farts, what people call them. It's on upshifts. You kind of get a couple crackles from the back. I do get them occasionally when the tires start to slip, but besides that, you don't really usually get them. So we'll do a little bit of a launch for you. Oh my hell. Second gear is 72 miles an hour. But having a small turbo, it still pulls really hard all the way up until red line, which is fantastic. I know that the brakes doesn't actually do that. It's actually super powerful between like 2,000 and like 4,500 RPMs, and then it completely falls on its face after that. And this car doesn't really do that, which is awesome. But like I said, we've got it in sport mode right now, driving around at some miles an hour. And the steering's nice and tight in sport mode. It stiffens it up a lot. It also changes the front differential, which is electronic. And this car grips really well. I really like, I haven't really taken it through too many canyons, and just the back and forth feels really good. Gosh, this road is beautiful. And it's quick. I mean, the car, it feels like it doesn't stop pulling. The brakes are fantastic. So the brakes on these GTIs, back in like the 2016 to 2017 days, you had to get like a performance package to get better brakes. And on these 2018 to 2020 days, you've got the same brakes that come on the Golf R, which is about 300 to 400 pounds heavier. So these brakes are more than enough to stop this car, and they work fantastically. With a lot of the assist systems that this car has, it'll actually auto brake for you in traffic. Like, I've had situations where I'm fully paying attention and I might be braking a little lighter than I need to be, and the car is like, it brakes for you. And I know a lot of cars do that, but it's a weird feeling because it'll actually depress the pedal, and it scared the hell out of me the first time it happened, because I remember braking and then this like bell went off, and all of a sudden the brake disappeared under my foot and went to the floor, and it was terrifying. So yeah, these brakes are fantastic. A little bit more, let's see, we'll do a downshift. Do a little bit more hard cornering. Holy cow.
It's a hard lift.
It's a hard lift? Yeah, it is.
That's a smooth one.
These brakes are fantastic, holy heck. Another thing that's kind of rough about having these longer gears is that the engine braking isn't fantastic. It's a lot lighter than in many other vehicles, but I'm leaving the traction control on, I should say that. I'm not the type of guy to turn traction control off. I've never seen a need to, so that's on right now. Hopefully you guys might be able to see the performance gauges, the oil temperature, and the boost pressure. What you should do, so with vacuum / kind of ambient temperatures, pressures I should say, you subtract, I think it's like 14.7 from the number that is displayed there. So we have 4.5 right now, so we're at negative 10 pounds of boost right now, which is normal because we're not on throttle. We're actually in vacuum right now. And then when we get on it, see that it moves up, and the G meter works really well. It's fantastic. All these numbers, they're super reactive. They're maybe like a little glitchy, but they're really great. They read really accurately. I like how they're not dummy numbers. I like how it actually shows decimals as well. It feels super premium, which is another thing that I actually want to mention in this car. The interior feels really premium. All the components, they feel really nice. There's a lot of soft touch. This is it's almost like a plasticky leather. The steering wheel feels really great. The shift knob's awesome. It all just feels high quality for what you get. And I believe this car is somewhere around $30,000, so it feels really good. This guy, it's got plenty of passing power. Yeah, the car drives really well. I'm a huge fan. Okay, so now we are going to switch drivers. I'm going to get Sam sitting in here, and he is going to give his opinions while we are on our way down the rest of this road. So we'll join us here in a second. All right, so we have got Sam in the driver's seat now. He's going to give us a little bit of what he feels. So Sam, I should say, you guys have seen him in the channel. He drives a Focus ST. It's making, what are you making?
About 340 wheel.
About 340 wheel horsepower, so about 100 more than this. And it's a fast car, and it sounds fantastic. It's a super cool car. So he's going to give us his opinion on how this car drives, and yeah.
On this thing is so long. Yeah, that's the only thing that I've noticed driving just even this little bit. The gears are so long. When you are in second, you can get up pretty high, but as soon as you shift into third and you try and get back on it, your RPMs drop so far anyway that it's like you lose use a whole lot to get up and go.
You really, you experience a lot of lag.
Yeah, it drops pretty quick, but with it being a little turbo, it pulls up quick enough anyway that it's still a freaking blast to get on.
For sure.
Yeah, shifts freaking awesome. Clicks in real nice.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. It's a really notchy shifting feel, which I know a lot of people complain about with the newer cars these days, that they don't feel as engaging to drive as they used to, and I think this has kept a lot of that feeling with it. So yeah. Let's get this camera flipped, and we are going to, Sam's going to keep talking, but we're going to film the road. So let's do that. So before we film more of the road, I wanted to talk about my seating position and how it feels to be in the passenger seat. And you can definitely tell that this car is very driver focused. I mean, there's this angle here that tilts the screen towards the driver. Everything is super far away from the passenger. Like I have really long arms, and I have to fully extend and then bend over some to change the volume or do things like that. It's honestly, it's not, I don't want to say it's boring being here. It's pretty much just like any other car, but you can definitely tell that there is a bias to the driver, which is really good. It's a driver's car, so it's driver focused. But yeah. So Sam, have you noticed anything else driving?
It handles really well with it being a stock car, stock suspension. You haven't done anything with suspension.
No, it's bone stock.
Yeah, bone stock. Like, grips really well. There's not a whole lot of body roll. It's a small car, hatchback. It feels freaking sweet.
Definitely.
I love the small cars. So.
Sure. So this SE model, it does not have, I think it's called DCCD, which is Dynamic Chassis Control, or DCC, sorry. I know the Autobahns do have it, so it'll kind of like stiffen or soften the suspension depending on what mode you're in. This car does not have it, so it's just what you see is what you get. I think it feels really good driving through the corners. How do you feel about that stiff steering? Is it stiff enough? Does it give you enough feedback?
Yeah, I'm super picky on the drivability stuff because I think the small things like that will make it so much better, like the stiff steering, the notchy shifts, things like that. Even if your car's not crazy fast, it'll make it feel a whole lot better just as far as the driving experience goes.
Definitely.
I'm picky with all those things anyway. And this, first off, I love the texture on this. It's like a little golf ball, kind of. Golf.
I love it. Heck yeah.
Love that. Love how it's notchy, and yeah, steering is super stiff. Feels freaking awesome.
Yeah, the steering feels really good. It's interesting because you can really feel it, and I know I've talked about it a lot, how big of a difference it is between normal and sport modes. It's fantastic. You can really tell that Volkswagen took the time to actually make it different and actually make the car feel a lot better. We have also got a frameless rear view mirror with a compass on it. We've also got a garage opening home link type thing. We have SOS up here if you need to make an emergency phone call, so you have a crash or anything like that and you don't have service. These, obviously we've got our lights. The interior lights are all LEDs, obviously. At night, these will glow red, as well as you can kind of see the red here, and it continues through the gauges, the red stitching all around the seats. There is a lot of red accents. What's kind of weird to me is that you would expect there to be red in your footwell lights, but it's not. It's actually just LED. Whatever. But yeah, I'm trying to think of what else there is to say when it comes to the driving experience. Sam, is there anything else that you would think of?
The only other thing I'd say, if you want to be really picky, for me, because I'm picky and I like little stuff like this, but the gas pedal is just a little bit lower than where I would want it. Coming over to the brake a little bit, I kind of catch my shoe coming up to the brake, but that's just being really small and picky, but
sure.
It feels good. Steering wheel feels super sporty, like you said. It's awesome. Low thumb grip here, I love it. And that flat bottom end too, it's sweet.
Definitely, yeah. It's got nice 9 and 3 notches. What was that?
That was.
One thing I will mention when it comes to the pedals is the clutch. As you guys can tell, I did that launch a little bit ago, and the clutch feel is so, I'm trying to think how to explain it. It's really easy. It's easy for literally anybody to get in this car and drive it. I taught somebody how to drive manual a couple weeks ago in this car, and it was extremely easy for them. It actually blips the throttle when you let go of the clutch. Like if you're standing still and you're just pushing the clutch in and out, it'll actually blip the throttle to keep the RPMs up a little bit. So you don't even need to use any throttle when you're setting off. But it does make it a little difficult when you're talking about clutch feel and an actual, like for somebody that has been driving manual, it feels almost dull and disconnected, which is frustrating because, like we talked about, the shifter is super notchy, the gearbox is fantastic, besides the long gears. I really wish that they would have put a little bit more time into the clutch feel and made it more sporty and more engaging. I know like for like the lower model Golfs, they could do, you know, whatever they want to just because it is a daily driver. But for this being like a more sporty hot hatchback, they could have put a little bit more thought into that. I am planning on making 2 more videos of this car. We're gonna do 5 things I like and 5 things I hate. I've kind of talked about it a little bit in this video, but we'll talk about it more in the next. Well guys, thank you so much for watching this review video. I appreciate you guys giving me the view. Please like and subscribe for more videos like this. There are more to come. Like I said, we've got 2 more coming out on this GTI, and we've got the jet ski. We've got to take that out. We've got to get that a little bit of a review. I'm not sure how the heck we're gonna do that without a GoPro. I'm gonna have to figure out a way to we're gonna have to figure out a way to strap the phone onto something.
The jet ski.
Something like that, I guess. Around my wrist, I don't know. Duct tape, there we go, baby. But yeah, anyways guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if there's anything that you would have liked to hear, and I'll definitely respond to all comments about that. But yeah, I hope everybody's having a great day. I hope you guys continue to have a good day, and we'll see you on the next one. Later!